Folks, we welcome you back to the show, and joining us now, as promised, is columnist for the Washington Times, the one and only Charles Hurt. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good, good. You know, I'm watching this all day on on CNN, and can you imagine if somehow this had happened and George Bush were responsible? 2 inches of snow in Atlanta. And you got people there on the road for 18 hours, kids sleeping in supermarkets and schools, kids trapped on school buses, people with diabetes that can't get their medicine for 2 inches of snow. I mean, the mayor should be, tried for it. I don't know what.
The mayor, I think the president should be held responsible. I mean, this is Katrina. This is Katrina all over again. And what was he doing last night? He was running around in Congress, holding forth, having a big time, going to parties, and meanwhile, all these people were suffering. It's just, I think we should draw up, impeachment papers on it.
It is pathetic. All seriousness, it's frightening. It's scary. I mean, that a city could be paralyzed for 2 inches of snow. But if 2 inches of snow is your blizzard and you knew it was coming, I mean, how do you not put salt or something down to treat the ice?
Yeah, it is incredible, and I although I have to kind of stick up for my fellow Southerners, they don't get snow, and they don't get ice, and so when a dusting comes, it's sort of amazing to them, and then you add that to the already hectic congestion around Atlanta, for example, and it becomes a nightmare in a hurry. But it really is amazing, not only that the officials down there didn't have a better plan in place, but also the forecasters weren't able to give. I thought these guys were experts about the weather, and I know here in D.C. nobody said anything about snow, and then suddenly we got 2 inches of snow last night, and it does seem like there's somewhat of a breakdown with these weather experts.
Yeah, no, it's just incredible. But anyway, you mentioned what Barack Obama was doing yesterday, and that, of course, was boring us all. And basically, they could have taken.
Was anybody listening?
You know, I had to listen, and you might have listened. I don't know, but I got to tell you, it was just such a bunch of nothing. And then I put on MSNBC, and it's like, wow, this was, wow. I mean, what did he say? It's the same old infrastructure, equal work for equal pay, climate change, pre-K, the same liberal nonsense that he's been pushing since he was a candidate in '07.
Yeah, but there's something really broken right now, or at least that's my sense. And people, I think that a lot of people, I don't think anybody was, even the people that were listening weren't really listening. They just sort of, you're sitting there, and he goes through, as you say, goes through his litany of stuff that has demonstrably failed to do anything, and then goes on to sort of kind of try to blame Congress and blame his opponents and all this kind of stuff, and it's just it's a real hopeless sort of hopeless kind of feeling as you're sitting there watching all this.
You wrote a great piece today, and I want to talk about that. And you talk about Obama's hatchet man against filmmakers, and it's Bahara is the what? Give me the name again.
Preet Bharara.
Yeah, Preet Bharara. Preet is the first name, and going after Dinesh D'Souza. We had Gerald Mullen on this show, and he said, and he's the Academy Award-winning producer of Schindler's List, and the irony for him to say that for the first time in his life he's afraid of the government, and this isn't the first time, and people are now afraid. Even I don't know if we should bring this up, but even Matt Drudge had a couple of tweets that got a lot of play on the internet and conservative sites about kind of warnings, have an exit plan, and he kind of cited the prosecution of D'Souza and other instances of where the IRS is going after people, and I think it's really time for us as a nation, certainly us as conservatives, but us as a nation, to be afraid.
Yeah, and I thought what was so interesting about your the Schindler's List producer and his comments about that is that that's a guy who, and I don't know him anything other than just his comments there. That he has at least studied a very important part of history in that movie,
right?
And he understands that these things, these people didn't, they weren't born evil with horns and, murderous intentions. It was something that sort of happened, and it was a breakdown of laws and a breakdown of humanity and a breakdown of honest discourse, and more than anything, a breakdown on the limits of government. And if you study World War II and the events leading up to it, you cannot not look at what is going on now and be terrified. And the sad thing about President Obama is, I used to think that he was this smart guy and he knew everything and he just kind of had liberal stuff. I don't know that anymore. I honestly, because I don't think he's evil, but he clearly has never cracked a political philosophy book, or he's never read a single word that was written about the founding of the country in terms of what the founders were worried about in terms of unchecked government. And he's making all those same mistakes that lead to, maybe not him, it won't be him, but if he can do it, if he can run roughshod all over this stuff, so can the next guy. And before long, you get somebody really, really nasty and ugly in there, and then we have a problem.
Well, we're talking to Charles Hurd of the Washington Times here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm probably not as generous in my assessment as Obama. I think he knows, in many respects, I think he knows his economic policies are taking us where they're taking us. I think he knows that what he's doing is pushing the limit. I think, in my opinion, I would have, if I had to bet, I'd say that during the discussions with the IRS chief, which were unprecedented in number, when they met in the White House all those times, reportedly, that it was made very clear what the IRS should do. I think this is intimidation. He locked up the guy who made the movie that they claim started the Benghazi situation. Yeah. They locked him up for a year on a parole violation. And as you point out in your column, Dinesh D'Souza, I mean, he may have done this, which was take money from people and then, or give people money, in effect, launder it to give to campaigns, and he paid them back $20,000 worth. They set bail for $500,000 and took him away in handcuffs for something that's usually pleaded out as a misdemeanor. And like you say, the millions and millions and millions of dollars given by Hollywood in these fundraisers, and go back to Al Gore in the Buddhist temple with no controlling legal authority. I mean, this treatment of D'Souza is abhorrent.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and especially when you look around the amount of money, the hundreds of millions of dollars that Hollywood has raised, almost exclusively for Democrats and President Obama, and they do it through bundlers, and bundlers are people who collect money from people, say, who work for them, who and you collect a couple $1 million, and then you bundle it all together and you give it directly to the campaign. Well, gee. Do you know why they do that? They do that so that they can cover their tracks and do exactly what it was that D'Souza did. And it's easy to do, and you can and when you look at these cases, it's fairly widespread. It's very rare that they actually get the evidence to charge somebody with it.
Right.
And so I really don't. It's a weird thing, and even if he is guilty. And there's some indication, some signals that sound like maybe he is going to make some sort of arrangement that acknowledging that,
right.
that he unintentionally did something.
Right.
But even if he did, the point is the point that remains is the appearance of carrying out political vendettas. The appearance of it is doing a lot of damage, and it might not be doing as much damage as it is now because nobody trusts this president anymore, and nobody trusts the organization, the levers of power in this government anymore because they have such an atrocious track record. Going after people that they don't agree with.
Absolutely. Everybody read the column, WashingtonTimes.com. Charles Hurd's piece today, very worthwhile and very frightening indeed. Charles, always a great pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Right, take care. Charlie Hurt, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the panel. The panel joins us, and will be rejoined by Republican strategist Ron Christie and joined by conservative radio host Kevin Jackson, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve